Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham. It's a Thursday night. It's time for the handicap rugby chat that matters. Well, we've got a massive weekend of rugby ahead, and I must say, we're reflecting on a pretty good weekend last weekend. If you subscribe to our newsletter, you hit the main bet, and also at last hit one of the ACCAs. It came in at just under 10-1 at player bets and hit that quite nicely. In fact, we were certainly spot on as a group last week in terms of calling where the market moves were going to come. And fortunately, the results came as well. I wouldn't say it's my best weekend ever. I made a couple of poor decisions, but ended up showing a nice profit. Not only is there lots of rugby to talk about this weekend, but we've also got the Black Friday specials coming tomorrow. So if you haven't logged on to the Good for the Game forum yet, we're covering a few of them there. If you're a punter who spots any good specials, share it with other punters on Good for the Game. And it'll be, hopefully we can take advantage of that. I think most of us cleaned out our accounts this week so we could stock it up for the specials. Let me introduce you to the panel who's going to take us through tonight's betting. I'm going to start off with thoughts on sports. Hello to Neil. Neil, good to have you on the show, man. How are you feeling? I believe you're the second member of the handicap panel to come down with COVID.
No, Brent, yeah, it's a bit of a shock to the system, but all strong this side. I'm feeling okay and ready and very excited for the weekend ahead. I've got a couple of nice plays lined up for the boys on the show.
Excellent. You're a little bit faint for me. Maybe someone in the live chat can let us know if it's just on my side. And then Henrik, welcome back, man. You've been off for a few weeks. You've been fishing. You had the wife's anniversary, but good to have you back on the show.
Yeah, Brent. Yeah, nice to be back again. I haven't been on for like 3 or 4 weeks. I love being on the show, so it's good to be back. And yeah, I look forward to chatting a bit about betting. I love rugby betting chat.
Excellent. Well, I'm pretty sure the volume issue is on my side because both of you sounded quite fine before the show. Now it's just a little bit faint. So I'm going to look to sort that out as we go along. But let's bring up a different screen angle here and get cracking. I mean, Neil, I'm going to start with you. We moved from Super Rugby Unlocked, which I know was a very good tournament for you, straight into the Currie Cup. But effectively, we've got a change of name. But in actual fact, the tournament continues, doesn't it? Because they carry all their points through.
No, Brent, it's exactly the same this week round. I think Super Rugby Unlocked was a very profitable tournament for most of us involved. I think the only real change to the tournament is the fact that the Stormers get a little bit of a rebrand to Western Province. And I think they won't be too disappointed with that, seeing as they can sort of eradicate that Bulls loss against them a couple of weeks ago. So that's a big result for them. And yeah, looking forward to get stuck into some good Currie Cup through to just a nice change for us.
Excellent. Well, let's start off on the Currie Cup then. And Neil, I'll stay with you. On the first game is Friday night. It's the Sharks against the Pumas. I just want to pop onto the Good for the Game forum and just see what I handicapped this game at. I actually went initially Sharks minus 24.5. The handicap, I think, came out at, and I must just plug my battery in because I unplugged it and now my laptop goes flat in about 5 minutes. Sorry, guys. Just give me 1 sec here. But the handicap came out at 20.5. But I see there's been money for the Pumas. I think that's on the back of Sharks team news, and we're looking at, I think, 17.5 at the moment. What do you make of that one? 15.5 at Sunbet, in fact. Have you guys lost
Neil,
me?
on. No, Neil is on mute.
No, just fixing my
Neil's
sound
on mute.
there.
Okay.
I think that should be a bit better. So 15.5, I think, is very, very well priced at the moment. Obviously, the Sharks overcame the Pumas. I think it was 42 points to 19 over in Nelspruit early in the season. But I definitely think that will favour the Sharks exciting back, sort of playing at altitude early in the season. I think that when I last looked at the conditions, it was meant to be a bit muggy in Durban, a bit of rain forecast, and obviously humidity always high at this time in the year. So I think 15.5 very well priced. I was lucky enough to get on the plus 19 early on in the week, and I think there's still 19.5 available if you look hard enough. I think, but for me, the big play for me is the under 50.5 points total in Durban. I think that's an absolute cracker. I price this at 45.5. The Sharks will be very lucky to get 33.5 here. 50.5 just does not arrive in Durban at this point in the year. So I think if you can still get 50.5, I think that's an absolute cracking play.
Excellent. Well, hopefully we can get a weather update from Oracle, assuming you'll be paying any attention at all to the rugby, because I know he's focusing on his horses at the moment. Peter Paul then saying, what about a sponsor for the Good for the Game show? So Peter Paul, yeah, I mean, if a bookmaker wanted to sponsor the show, that'd be welcome. But one condition would be that we're certainly not just going to talk about one bookmaker's prices on the show. The idea is to get the best deal, and I certainly want all the guests to be free to talk about whichever bookmaker they want. But obviously, if someone came along and said they wanted to sponsor it, of course, we'd have a look at it. Henrik, you've had a bit of a break in terms of the show, but I know you've still been punting. What do you make of this game?
Brent, I'm 100% with Neil on this one. I also like the unders. I'm always, like I've said on our group earlier in the week as well, I got burnt in Durban a few times when it's raining going unders. You'd think with rain you always go unders, but in Durban sometimes it's another story, but doesn't look like serious rain. So I think it should be hot enough to make it a bit muggy, like Neil said. So yeah, I'm very happy to go unders. I'm quite surprised that the quote is 50 and a half. I was expecting 44, 45 and a half like Neil. And yeah, I like that. Sharks under 33 and a half as well. Under handicap, I took some plus 19 and a half Pumas when we got the news about the Sharks struggling with the COVID. Then the Sharks team came out, and it's not that bad a team. It's a pretty solid team for a Currie Cup game. But yeah, I think Lucanio Arms' loss is big. It's the best bet outside centre in the world, and the Sharks will miss him. So I'm still happy to be on the plus, but yeah, my bigger bet will be on the unders. I really like the under 50 and a half because I think that I can't see the Pumas scoring a lot in Durban, and I like the Sharks unders as well. So yeah, I'm firmly on the unders here, and a smaller bet on the plus on the Pumas.
Well, just a reminder that the Good for the Game newsletter will go out tomorrow, and if you haven't subscribed yet, I'll put a link down below. You can subscribe, and also a link to the rugby forum thread as well. But Henrik, I'm going to stay with you now and go on to the next game. Griquas was up against the Golden Lions. This one takes place at 4:30 on Saturday. And here we got the handicap. I priced this one at minus 15.5 Lions. I think there was some maybe 11.5 early, and then the line sort of moved to the sort of 13.5. I see here on Sunbet at the moment we got 14.5 points. Personally, I've written the preview for Good for the Game here, and I think the Lions are going to kick clear and win this comfortably.
Yeah, Brent, the big thing here is again the weather. Weather, especially if you're a points punter, you're always looking at the weather, and there's a lot of rain forecast for Kimberley. I think the last I checked this afternoon was 11 millimeters of rain between 12 and 6 o'clock on Saturday. So it will be a wet game, but I think that will play into the Lions' hands. The Griquas, they like a fast running. Oh, the Lions like a fast running game as well, but the Lions they have a better pack in my opinion. So I think they will. The conditions will play into their hands better. So I'm with you. I see the Lions winning this by more than 2 converted tries. Points. It's going to be an interesting one. I'll probably be looking at unders on Griquas points, anything in the low 20s probably. So yeah, but I like the minus here as well, like you.
Excellent. Well, Brendan Wessels, aka the conductor, coming in now. A lot of guys will just give you basic information. It's going to rain in the game. This guy actually tells us it's going to be 11 millimeters of rain in the game. So you can base your decision on that. And I'll go up to Neil. Neil, first of all, I mean, you must. I know you like to take advantage of the points lines when they come out, but you must have some favorite weather sites and that you use lined up because weather for points punters, of course, is massive.
No, Brent, as I'm sure everyone knows that I'm a big points punter. I pretty much just Google the exact address of the stadium and then pick out 2 or 3 sites from there and then do my analysis from there. But I must say, this is probably the first time in my existence that I've ever seen rainfall scheduled for Kimberley Griquas Park for a Saturday fixture. So I really hope the bookies overestimate the Griquas Lions here and expect a free-flowing game and treat us to a nice 55, 56 points line, because I know I'll be all over that unders there, and I think that'll be absolute gold, and that should be funding my December holiday. So that's my hope at the moment. And then just with regards to the handicap, I think that it's exceptionally well priced, but I must say this is probably the best Lions team that I've seen them put out. I know Henrik's not a big Jaco Kriel fan, but I know he likes to get stuck into some Currie Cup rugby. He loves nothing more than an away trip to Griquas Park to get on the score sheet. So I think that Lions will have more than enough in the pack to cover that 13.5. And just as Henrik touched on, I will definitely be eyeing out a Griquas points line and hoping for 21.5, and I'll be all over the unders there.
Right, so a couple of strong points fancy so far. The Crow Tips, who of course is a guest on the show as well, say summer rugby in the Southern Hemisphere and winter rugby in the North go unders. I think you're right on winter rugby. Summer rugby, it depends in the Southern Hemisphere. I think like Durban, you've got the humidity, and you do have to watch for the storms. But if the ground's hard at places like, for example, Ellis Park and Kimberley, I would still be wary of the overs. But definitely, Henrik has always said it, rather be an unders player in the long term than an overs player. Neil, we'll stay with you for the next game, and I guess it's the game of the weekend, really. We've got Western Province up against the Blue Bulls. Now, I priced this one as I was going to make it a choice game, but I just thought home ground advantage. I think Province will be favourites. I said -3.5. The most bookies, I think, opened up about evens, although I know you were able to get a bit of +3.5. I saw on the Good for the Game forum there. And now we've got the Western Province here at Sunbet are actually sitting at 2.5-point favourites now. I haven't had a chance. I've had a busy week. I haven't shopped around. What are your thoughts on this one now?
No, Brent, when it opened up at 3.5, I just naturally took the Bulls plus because I just thought that was where the value lied, and I could sort of trade my position later in the week as it went on. But now that I've seen the Province lineup, I think you'd be a fool to back to go against them. At Newlands, very sentimental. One of the last games they'll play, definitely the last game they'll play against the Bulls at Newlands. I think that the only way to go here is Province on the board. I think whenever you get 9 to 10, if you shop around for Western Province to win full strength at Newlands, I think it must be punished. And I honestly can't see any other result here but Western Province winning. I don't think Western Province are one of those sides which do struggle to beat sort of a minus handicap. They do struggle to win by more than 5-6 points. But I think there's only one option to go here, and that is definitely for them to win on the board. And I'm just hoping once again that the bookies come out with a very generous points line, because if I can get 48.5, I'll be flying into that unders there. Two very big undersides. I expect a big kicking contest. I expect a bit of a forward dominance battle of the set piece. And yeah, I think I just expect Province to edge it by sort of 2 points here.
Yeah, I think you've summed up the game very nicely there. I actually purposely got this preview up on Good for the Game fairly early because I saw the market was starting to move and went for for Western Province there at 11 to 10 at the time. So they have shortened quite considerably. I've got a feeling that Henrik Swart might be on Western Province this week as well, based on that jersey he's wearing.
Yeah, Brent, we all aligned on all three games. I'm aligned with Neil and basically with you as well. I like Province here as well. I like Province to win. I like the team they pick. It would have been nice to see Jaco Kutsia starting, but yeah, Sia is the national captain, so he's obviously going to start. He's going to start. But I expect Jaco to make a big difference when he comes on in the second half. I'm always wary of Damian Willems. I'm not a fan of Damian Willems, and I'm a bit nervous when he's the fly up. But yeah, at Newland, Western Province, 9 to 10. If you shop around, even 8 to 10, it's a good price as well. You can take the small minus. I hear, Neil, that they don't put teams away, and I agree with that. But I think -1, -2.5 is still safe to take on Western Province here. I agree with him on the unders as well. Newlands and Durban, the coastal venues in South Africa is always big under venues. So yeah, if we can get a 44, 45.5 total points, I'll be on that, on the unders. But yeah, on the handicap or the match odds, Western Province to win, that's my strongest fancy of the 3 Currie Cup games. I like Western Province strong, yeah.
Excellent. Henrik, I know you made a comment earlier in the week. You hadn't seen any outright betting. Have you seen any outright betting yet on the Currie Cup?
It's shocking, eh? I'm normally so excited about the Currie Cup, but the Super Rugby Unlocked has taken a bit out of it, and it's not really a big hype about the Currie Cup. It's because it's basically the same teams playing into it. So it's a bit of a downer, but I love the Currie Cup. It's probably my favorite competition in the world. Not just from punting, from watching, from being a boy, my dad taking me to Newlands every Saturday when I was very small still. So yeah, I'm very excited about the Currie Cup, and yeah, I haven't seen any outright betting. I've checked most of the bookmakers. I don't think we're going to get any outright betting. I think the bookmakers might be concerned about the games that were not played, and they're not sure how the points are going to get handled for that, because the points are carried over from the Super Rugby Unlocked. But yeah, it's a concern. I'm not sure where I would have gone. Probably I might have gone for Western Province, actually, because they're well placed just after the Bulls on the lock at the moment, and the Bulls only have 2 home games, and Loftus is big for the Bulls. They're really good there. So yeah, but I haven't seen any outright betting.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I can kind of understand where the books are coming from, because I was looking at the log and I saw, some teams have played 5, some have played 6, and then you think like I think it was the Lions game against the Greek was early, or the Cheetahs, that was considered a draw, and then, other games, different rules apply. So as a bookmaker, I can sort of understand maybe why they don't want to come out, but hopefully once everything's properly established, they will come out, and we'll get some outright betting on that. Let's move on to the big test match this weekend. That's Argentina against New Zealand. Argentina, of course, beating New Zealand 25-15 last time out. And then last week, well, they saved my bacon. They were 9 points down, but they came back to draw the game. I had a nice win on the plus there. But what this has done, and Henrik, I'll stay with you, it's really helped New Zealand in the sense that they're now firm favourites once again to win the Tri-Nations. But I'm waiting for you to say, look, Foster's still their coach.
Yeah, Brent, it was the perfect result for them. It was strange last week looking at the outright betting for the Tri-Nations and see New Zealand at the bottom. I don't think I've ever seen them at the bottom for outright betting. And yeah, now they're short favourites, like 2-10, and they will probably win it. Yeah, they'll probably win this game. They've got a, in my opinion, it's the best team that they can pick at the moment. So it's a really good team. And Argentina, they've made 10 changes to their team. Third game in a row for them. That's a bit of a concern, but it's also they don't mind traveling with the Alvarez as well. They don't mind playing on neutral fields. And the All Blacks, they are great in New Zealand, but sometimes they struggle away from home. And 17.5 is a big handicap in a test match. I see Argentina coming out very strong in the first half here and come out firing. I'm looking at taking the plus on the first time handicap. You can get 8.5 if you shop around. I think that's a good play. Maybe New Zealand can pull away in the second half. Maybe the third game in a row will catch the Argentinians. But yeah, for me on the handicaps, I'm like looking at the plus. I think Diego Maradona's death will also inspire the Argentinas. They've got 3 days of mourning in Argentina, and they will use that as motivation. They will play for him. So yeah, the defense has been good. Looking at the points lines, I will be looking at unders here. I've heard a few guys on our chat, they like the overs on New Zealand, points 32, 33.5. I will be looking at unders on total points here in the mid-40s. And yeah.
I can tell you, there is a quote, Henrik, just on Sunday at the moment, 47.5. So it's a little bit higher than mid-40s, the total points.
That's better than I actually thought it would be. And Nick Berry is the ref, and in my opinion, he's a solid unders ref. He likes blowing that whistle hard and long. So yeah, I'll definitely go unders on that 47.5. That's a stronger fancy for me than the plus on the Argentinians.
Well, Brendan Vessel says, will Jordan last try score a granny's pension? Of course, that's a reference to one of the Oracle's favorite sayings. Just to give you my selection on this one, I did go with New Zealand. I think I got minus 17.5 at the time of doing the preview. That's not my biggest bet. I do like my points bets, so that's why I'll be focusing on this one. But let's see what Thoughts on Sports has to say about it.
No, Brent, this is
sorry, you muted, Neil?
Because of the...
Or you've frozen, one of the two. Let's have
can you hear me now?
I can hear Neil.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can. It might be my Wi-Fi, quite frankly. It's playing up again. So keep going. The guys on the chat can let us know.
No problem. So yeah, I think this is quite a tricky one to call because as the RGs have made 10 changes, I don't think that the castles that have come in are too bad. If you look at the team sheet, you got Facundo Isa, you got Baffelli, you got De La Fuente all coming in, and these are all household names, especially their season campaigners for the Jags. I think that with that in mind, the 17.5 does look appealing, but then you just look at the point line, and can the RG score more than 14.5? And like that sort of puts a bit of a spanner in the works there. So I don't know. It's a very, very tricky game to call. I think if I was leaning, I would probably lean New Zealand over 32.5, just because I think that there is a good bounce back, and it's meant to be very hot in Newcastle in Australia on the weekend. So I think with that in mind, I would expect a sort of a slightly higher scoring game. Anyone who knows me, I'm very tentative to go over points. I'm generally a big unders punter, because I think that if you aren't an unders punter, you're always going to be losing to the books. So I would definitely be leaning slight overs here. But with that in mind, this is an exceptionally game to call. Like RGs could definitely cover the 17.5, but also wouldn't be surprised to see a big All Blacks bounce back. So I'll probably place half the units on RGs on New Zealand on over 32.5. Otherwise than that, just enjoy the spectacle and wait for the other rugby on the Saturday afternoon. Brent, are you back there? Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Excellent. I think I'm back, guys. Sorry, I think. I hope I'm back. I don't know. Can you guys hear me now? Sorry, man. My Wi-Fi is absolutely useless. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Henrik, I'm going to ask you if you can hear me, just to start talking about the Autumn Nations Cup.
Yes. Just before I move on from this game, I've made myself a rule. As long as Ian Foster coaches New Zealand, I won't put a cent on them. I would rather not bet on the game. But I'm not putting a cent on New Zealand on any handicap, any points line, as long as Ian Foster coaches them. I don't rate him at all. I think he's a very poor coach. But yeah, okay. So yeah, going on to the Autumn Nations Cup games. The first one, Neil, correct me if I'm wrong, is Wales versus England, right? The Scotland versus Fiji game is not being played because of the COVID stuff.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, so Wales versus England cap about 14.5. I'm not sure whether there's 13.5 anymore. Well, probably. I'm not sure whether there's 14.5. It's about 13.5 probably. Yeah. I know you liked Wales on the plus here, and yeah, them at home and with their record they've had recently. I think that's a solid bet, and I'm with you on that one. I think this might also be a big unders game. The conditions will probably be it is all right in Llanelli. But yeah, I think both these teams' defenses are pretty solid, so I don't see a lot of tries being scored in this game. I'm with you on the plus here. Well, I've actually said what you like, but yeah, what do you think on this game?
No, yeah, I think at first glance, I think there will be quite a lot of money for England on the minus. They've obviously picked a ridiculously strong outfit. They've gone back to George Ford at 10, Farrell to 12, and Henry State at 13, and then they've gone for a 6-2 split on the bench with Ben Earl and Jack Willis in the loose trio. But for me, I'm definitely in the Wash camp. The plus 14.5, that's far too big. In 8 out of the last 10 meetings between these sides, it has been settled by a single-digit score. And I do believe in history in international affairs. I'm very happy with initially, I wasn't actually too happy with the Welsh side that was picked. I was a bit nervous with two rookies getting picked on the loose trio in Lewis Hughes and James Botham. But upon further review, I think I'm quite happy with that. They're both big units. They're going to take it to the English faces. I love the English Welsh centre pairing of Williams and Tonkins. Tonkins is a huge talent. I expect him to sort of dominate the international arena for the next 10 years to come. He was an absolute menace for Saracens, and now he's gone across to the Dragons, added a little bit of a spark to the Dragons' backs there. And yeah, I think that point start, Wales at home in Llanelli. For me, it's a no-brainer to take Wales on the cap here. England will literally just be looking to seal the comp here. Wales' big motivation, knowing that they've been underperforming severely under Wayne Pivic. So yeah, I just think that Wales on the plus is the way to go here, and I think that they will cover it and will be settled within a single-digit score. And if I get a points line of sort of 44, 45.5, I definitely will be looking unders, because I think it's also 8 out of the last 10 fixtures between these sides have gone under. So that should be a cracking play, but the weather is good in Finelli. So, yeah.
Excellent, guys. Hopefully I'm back. I've switched to my 3G, which is also normally not that great, but hopefully it will do. I see a lot of guys agreeing on the Wales plus. I did see a post on the Good for the Game forum suggesting England minus. And my problem at the moment is that I just think this is an awful Wales side. And I'm not sure, I wouldn't necessarily be saying I'm going on England, but I just can't back this Welsh side with any confidence at the moment. But I'd certainly be looking potentially at an unders play, and maybe, as suggested by Kevin, maybe even a Wales underplay on the game. Henrik, I missed part of it. Have you already had your say on this game?
Yes, I said, Brent, yeah, I agree with Neil. Even with Wales being as poor as they are at the moment, plus 14.5 handicap at home for Wales, just too big. And I also expect England to win by single digits here. And I like the unders as well.
Right, well, let's move on to the next game then. It's France up against Italy. And Henrik, I'll start with you. France minus 16.5. And I saw one of our, the comment was made on Twitter, I think, that we don't have any French accents on the show tonight. We don't have Brady, and we don't have CL Rugby, who did pop on Chris Lacharge, I think you pronounce it, earlier with a comment. So we don't have any of the guys on. But I think it was Brady who said, and I could be wrong, it could be CL Rugby, but one of our French guys said they don't fancy France this week. They're probably not going to select a very strong team. And I think that Italy can beat the cap. And I see Henrik 16.5 is the line.
Yeah, Brent, this is a tough one with France chopping and changing their team. Like Brady told us before the Auto Nations Cup started, that they would play the half of the comp with the one team, and then they have a thing with the clubs that have to play other teams. Yeah, it's tough for me to back Italy. But yeah, I can't. Okay, sorry. When I saw this cap first, I thought, yes, this is small for France playing at home. But then the Italians, they always play well against the French. I'm very undecided on this game. I saw somebody posting on the forum that they're going to take Italy on the first half handicap. That's normally the way to go if you like Italy. They always come out firing the first half and then sometimes fade in the second half. I see Nigel Owens is the ref here. He normally lets the game flow quite nicely, and he makes sure that the breakdowns is clean. He penalises the teams trying to spoil. So that will be in France's favour, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm hoping there might be money for Italy, and the handicap maybe comes in 1 or 2 points. I think, yeah, if I'm pushed, like I said, I'm not strong here, but if I'm pushed, I'm going for France on the minus here.
Yeah, I mean, I was also a bit surprised to see this handicap. And, France, they have already started to show that they've got a lot more depth than France in previous years. There's a lot of depth in key positions. Neil, what do you think of this one? Are you backing Italy? Yeah, I mean, personally, I just can't back Italy with any confidence.
No, Brent, so I think I'm firmly in the Italian camp here. The French head coach Galtier has made like 13 changes to his side, and he's included 5 debutants into his run on 15. So for me, that's a big sign. Funny enough, the Italians are quite a bogey team for the French. In their last meeting, the Italians covered the scoreline against the full-strength French outfits in the 35-22 victory for the French in February. I think that handicap was around about 20.5 points. So I think when given a 17.5 point head start for the Italians, I think it's a no-brainer to back the plus here. I think the Italians will be licking their lips at the prospect of facing sort of an undercooked French side. I know obviously the fixture is in France, but without the crowd backing them, I feel that the Italians will be fully up for this game, and I think that Franco Smith and his charges will be firmly licking their lips for this. I know that the Italians are missing a couple of players in Pellegrini and Sebastian Negri, but I still feel like they'll have enough. I've been quite impressed with the Italian 10 and Bramstein in the back row. So yeah, for me, you can still get plus 17.5 if you look around, and plus 8.5 on the halftime cap is a cracking play for me. I think it's one of the best value plays of the round this week.
Excellent. Well, of course, we will sum up the bets at the end with the best bets and see what the boys fancy. Neil, I'm going to stay with you. Move on to the next game. Pretty one-sided, this one from a betting perspective, because we've got Ireland, who I think were about minus 33.5, and I see now the handicap has moved out to 35.5, 36.5, depending where you're shopping.
Yeah, I think when this game opened up at 33.5, they were sort of waiting on weather, but weather seems to be pretty clear in Dublin. So that obviously puts you makes you think about how many points will Georgia score and how many points will Ireland score. So say at worst case Georgia scores 7 points. That means that Ireland would have to score 43 points to cover the cap, assuming it's a 35.5 point spread, which I think that the Irish will do. But once again, sure, it's not a game that I'd put my house down on. I think that I'd wait for a total points line to come out. Hopefully, I could get a generous spread, and maybe look to take a first half unders. See the Georgians keep it quite close. Maybe concede 3 more tries, go into the break, sort of 21-0 down, and then so maybe look for an under 28.5 first half points play. That would be very nice if I could get something like that.
And Henrik, I must say, I don't know if you've followed Oracle. Well, hopefully you haven't followed his bets, because then you'd be in a bit of trouble. But the one thing he's called right over the last few weeks, he said Georgia points low. And last week I think I got under 9.5. Was it last week's game? Yeah, under 9.5 against Wales. And of course they scored the old duck against England as well. And hard to see them contributing much, as Neil says here. But the question is then, can Ireland get enough points to beat the cap?
Yeah, Brent, Georgia, like you said, it's tough seeing them scoring points to stay within the cap. But I don't really like this Irish team that they picked. So for me, this is tough one. You can't make a case for Georgia, and I don't like the Irish team. So I haven't got money down in this one, and the chances are very good that I will actually not bet before the kickoff, and maybe look for in play. Just if I watch the game, and I should be able to watch the game. So I've got no feeling on this game. If pushed, I will probably look at a minus maybe for Ireland, but I just don't like the team. They've picked so many new players in the team. So no feel in this game for me.
Excellent. Always better to say that. I mean, this is the sort of weekend. And there's so much rugby action, there's nothing wrong with missing a game or two. In fact, it's probably recommended. I know Conductor was saying last week he has to pace himself on the Saturday. And one of my big things, especially when I was younger, I used to sit there and watch 7 Super Rugby games in a row. And you actually get grumpy by the end, because even if you're winning some, you're losing some, and you just become a bit of a misery. So go out for a run or something. You don't have to see every game. And just one thing, just to look ahead, I didn't realize that the Currie Cup was starting this week initially. I thought it was only in Jan. So I was pleasantly surprised. And then I looked at the fixture list. I mean, we've even got rugby, Henrik, on Boxing Day. We're not. I mean, we're used to that in the Northern Hemisphere, but not here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see local rugby over the Christmas season. Normally, we just focus on the cricket during this time of year. And I see the cricket is starting as well tomorrow. But it's going to be very interesting, and I will enjoy it, because normally at that time of year I try and punt on the Northern Hemisphere rugby, but I'm not very good at that. I don't know it well enough. I try to follow certain guys like Neil and Brendan and so on, and Chris and Brady and those guys that know. Some punt obviously, but so this year getting that local rugby, it's going to be different, and it will be nice. We, like you said, it's so many matches rugby. You don't have to bet on every game, and I don't bet on every single. Well, I will probably have a smaller bet on certain games. And you can pick your games where you want to strike. It's actually a nightmare for the bookies in that regard. If you are a clever punter, you can pick where you want to place your bigger bets. So it's nice. It's very nice for us.
Excellent. Well, let's move on, Henrik, to another area where I know you've got a bit of a fancy at the moment. And just welcome to Dave watching on Facebook. Dave, I think we're going to have you on the show game soon. I think possibly next week. So looking forward to that. But let's move on to the Mitre10 Cup finals, because Henrik, I know you've got some fancies on that. The first game up is tomorrow morning, Hawke's Bay against Northland. And here we've got 52.5 the points line, and Hawke's Bay minus 15.5.
Yeah, Brent, Hawke's Bay, they've been really impressive this year. They put the Taranaki away last week. The game was close at one stage. Taranaki leading, actually. But then Hawke's Bay kicked into gear and they really put the hammer down. And Ash Dixon put on a show and Folau Fakatawa. And I enjoyed Lincoln McClatchy when he came on as well. And I see he's starting in place of Makene. I'm on Hawke's Bay on the minus here, and I think it's a great bet. Northland, they surprised everyone beating Otago in Dunedin last week. In my opinion, it was like their final. It's a big achievement for them to make the final. They haven't made the playoffs for a few seasons, so yeah, they've done well to get here, and they've been impressive, and they've got a few players in fact that's really impressive that will give Hawke's Bay a bit of a headache. But I think Hawke's Bay at home will put them away here. I can see Hawke's Bay easily beating this handicap and winning by 30 plus. I won't be surprised, actually. I can't see Northland scoring a lot of points, so I like the unders on Northland here as well. I think it's 18.5 around there at the moment. So I like the minus, but I like the unders on Northland more here.
Okay, so unders would actually be your preference as opposed to the handicap. Yeah, spoken like a true points punter. I'm exactly the same as you. I can like a handicap, but I'll try and find a points angle on the team that I either like or dislike on the handicap. I'm exactly the same. Neil, we'll go to you on this one. Hawke's Bay against Northland tomorrow morning. You watching this one?
No, Brent, I'll definitely have the TV screen on for this one. For me, this is ignore the handicap, go straight to the points line. If you see 52.5, put a lot of money on it. Turn off the TV and do a Friday afternoon and wake up with a bigger bank balance on Saturday morning. I think that this is a no-brainer when you get given a 52.5 points line in a New Zealand derby. I know that Hawke's Bay like to score a lot, but when you have Tom Robertson and Cora Pryor and Josh Goodhue sort of fending away and defending with their lives, I think it's a no-brainer to sort of take it on here. I just wouldn't be comfortable backing a big minus here. Although I do agree with Henrik, and I do think that Hawke's Bay will probably cover the big spread here. I think your money's way safer on the minus here. Northland have been big unders team all tournament. I think that 6 of the 7 fixtures that they've played this Mitre10 Cup in 2020 have gone unders, and for Hawke's Bay in 8 of the last 12 have gone unders. So also don't underestimate Hawke's Bay defense in that they often do. They may score a lot, but the total points does end under. So I think when you get given a 52.5, it's an absolute no-brainer. Take the unders, sit back, enjoy your Friday morning.
Excellent. I'm not sure what happened to Henrik. He popped off. Hopefully I didn't knock him off by accident. I don't think so. It looks like he's coming back on. But I'll stay with you for the next game. That's on Saturday morning, 7:35 South African time. And it's Auckland against Tasman. And here we got Auckland minus 3.5.
Yeah, Brent, this is also a very challenging pick, as one says. I think that the bookies have got it pretty well priced at 3.5. I'm definitely leaning the home side minus here. I see that Eden Park have opened their gates to supporters, so free entrance all day. So I do expect a packed out stadium for Auckland at home here. And just with regards to the points line, I see they've come out at 40.5. That is a couple points shy. As an unders punter, it's always tough to tip in overs, but I definitely did expect a sort of a 44, 45.5 point line here, and I see conditions are looking superb in Auckland. So just with a packed stadium, I think that I'll be happy to take an overs here. If you can get 39.5 at 8-10, I think that's a cracking play here. If you're just sort of unsure about which side will edge the final, but yeah, if I had to tip a handicap here, I definitely would be leaning Auckland minus 3 at 8-10.
Yeah, I must say, I was a little bit surprised to see that line, and particularly if conditions are good, I'll certainly be looking at overs there on Saturday morning as we warm up for the Argentina and New Zealand test. And Henrik, Auckland against Tasman, you getting involved in this one?
Yeah, Brent, I agree with Neil again, 100% here on both fronts, on the handicap and the points. I'm surprised to see the points line that low. Normally, you think you have to go unders in a final, especially, and like we said in the first game, the championship final, we like the unders, but this is too low for this game. I expected 44, 45 and a half. So you can either take the under 40, over 40, 41 and a half pre-game, or you can wait like 4, 5, 6 minutes into the game and wait for the line to drop 1 or 2 points and take the overs. Then I think the overs is the correct play here. I'm normally a big Tasman fan. I've done well on them the last few years, but Auckland, they've been really impressive here, and I'm a big fan of TJ Foyane and Salesi Rayasi. Rayasi is my favorite player in the world at the moment. And I can, in Tasman, they haven't been the same as previous years. So I can see Auckland beating the handicap here. I've seen 4.5. I haven't got money down yet. I'm not sure whether there's 2 or 3.5 available. But if there is, I think that's a solid bet. The minus 4.5 even is good as well for me for Auckland in Auckland. And yeah, the conditions will be good for this game. I checked the weather prediction. But yeah, I think the overs on total points here is a better play. Auckland, they score points, and I think they will let in a few as well. So yeah, I like the points here. Brent, we can't hear you, Brent.
Sorry, I muted myself. We're going to move on to the European rugby now, but so you're going to pop off. I don't think we're going to be talking for too long because we're just really going to cover the Gallagher Premiership. But give us your best bets across the board. Probably your most solid pick, and then maybe a couple of supporting features.
Yeah, Brent, on the Autumn Nations Cup, I haven't got strong feels. Probably Wales Plus the best there, but nothing strong there. On the local rugby, the Currie Cup, I like Western Province to win. Very strong there. I like that. And I think that's a very good bet. But Northland unders tomorrow morning, first game up. The Taniwa unders, I see Peter Paul saying there's 19.5 available. I think that's a great bet, and that's my best bet of the weekend.
Right, Northland on the unders. Henrik Swart, great having you on the show, and thanks for joining us. And we'll chat to you in the forum and on Twitter over the weekend.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rugby, guys. Cheers.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. That was Henrik. And Neil, before we get into your bets, we can run through the European competitions, and I'll just bring up the betting. I know you said Pro14 you don't have much, and I must say Pro14 is difficult to talk about on this show because it's been Sundays and Mondays, and you don't really have team news and all of that sort of stuff. So let's focus on the Premiership. I'll bring up the games, but I mean, we don't have to necessarily talk about every single one. But the first one, well, Newcastle Falcons against Sale Sharks. Maybe you just want to run us through the games and let me know your fancies.
No, yeah, Brent. Premiership's definitely my bread and butter compared to the Pro14. That's sort of a way better look into the team news, injury news, points lines, all of that, conditions. So yeah, I always have a way stronger feeling on that. Just starting off with the first game, the Falcons versus the Sharks. So I see the points line has come out at about 42, 43.5. So that leaves the Sale line at about 26.5. I do think that a slight overs play is on the cards on Sale points at 26.5. I see that it's going to be pretty cold up north, but conditions are meant to be quite clear. If I have got a bit of cash on Sale minus 7.5, which I do think will land, but once again, I do liken Sale to the Sharks and Stormers sort of down south here, where they're great to back on the board for the victories, but they do sort of struggle to cover those minus handicaps. So yeah, once again, small feeling towards the Sale minus, but I also do like the over 26.5.
Right, Northampton Saints against Harlequins. I see the handicap here is plus 1.5 Northampton.
Sure. So Brent, when this game came out, I think it was about a 3.5 point handicap in favor of the Saints. So it was Saints minus 3.5. And I was definitely looking at getting involved in the Quins cap there, but I was a bit slow on the mark there. But still at because I thought Quins would win the game, so still at sort of an 8 to 10 mark, I still definitely back Quins to win the game. I really like their sort of halfback pairing in Danny Kerr and Marcus Smith. I think that they do control the game quite well, and they obviously have Andre Esterhuizen at 12, who does sort of suit those northern hemisphere conditions where he crash and bashes, gets them over the advantage line. Got Mike Brown at 15, is very safe under the high ball. Alex Dombrandt at 8, great ball carrier and sort of an explosive and underrated 8 in Northern Hemisphere rugby. So I definitely do back the Quins to win on the board here. Saints have been very poor post-COVID. I think Chris Boyd is scared for his job here. I don't rate Alex Mitchell at 9 for the Saints at all. I think they're struggling big time. They're obviously missing Dan Bigger in the Wales setup. So I think there are a lot of problems in the Saints setup, and I think they'd be more than happy to sort of concede a bonus point last year. So I'm all over the Quins to win on the board here at 8 to 10.
Quins to win on the board there at 8 to 10. Bristol Bears against the Worcester Warriors, and here the handicap is 6.5, minus 6.5 the Bristol Bears.
So Brent, another one could say a tricky game. I capped this game initially at 4.5, and when the betting came out at 10.5, 11.5, I couldn't believe my eyes. I raced to take the Warriors on the plus here. Just Bristol have been ravaged by injury news. They've obviously got quite a few international call-ups, and the Warriors maintain to keep their core squad quite similar. They've got Francois Hurgard at 9, Billy Sill at 10, Francois Fenter at 12. They generally just have a good mix. Got a strong defense coach. They like to keep things tight. So I think whenever you get given a double-digit head start, especially with no crowds, I thought that the West Side was probably the obvious pick to take here. But it seems that Nathan Hughes could be back for the Bears. So that sort of shifted the handicap a bit down and then actually a bit out. So it actually went down to about 4.5, 5.5. But I see it's settled at about 6.5. So I think that these levels, it's probably very well priced. I probably would still lean to take a Warriors plus 7.5 at 8 to 10, but not with a lot of confidence. I think that if you miss the early value in the double digits, let this one pass and enjoy the rest of the rugby for the weekend.
Right, Kevin making a comment in the live chat that Bristol have depth there, and I think, that's a good point. I can remember a week or two ago, maybe it was even last weekend, I remember they had some issues, but they performed, I think, above expectations. Gloucester up against Wasps. Now, Wasps cost a lot of people money last week because I think they were quite popular handicap picks, and I didn't get involved, so I didn't follow the game closely, but I just saw lots of comments on Twitter. It sounds like they fluffed their lines here, but they start favourites away at Gloucester, minus 2.5.
Yeah, Brent, this is actually quite a strong fancy from me. I'm quite firm on the Gloucester on the plus. I actually managed to get 5.5, but still at 2.5, I'll happily take some of that. And I'll also take Gloucester on the board. I think you can still get 14 to 10 if you shop around. Gloucester have quite a settled halfback pairing. They've got some brutes in the forward pack, and they're back on their home turf. And they know this is a must win against quite a depleted Wasps outfit. Wasps are missing quite a few players, Jack Willis and Kerr. So I think that if you can get a generous a generous Gloucester plus, this is definitely the way to go. And I think that Gloucester will win on the board here.
All right, Gloucester on the board, so the underdog there. Exeter Chiefs against Bath. The Chiefs here minus 18.5. They've already proven they've got plenty of depth. But is 18.5 too big?
Yeah, Brent, for me, 18.5 is far too big. I capped this at 11.5, 12.5 region. Bath obviously heading to the champions' home turf here, but once again, Exeter missing quite a few players. Although their recruits, their B-side are some top quality rugby players, I just think that Bath have enough class to cover sort of nearly a three try handicap here. They've got Charlie Ewells returning, Tom Dunn, Abano, the loose head prop. Although Bath were very disappointing last week against the Falcons at home, this 18.5 is far too big. This makes it probably one of my best bets of the weekend. This Bath plus here. I expect this to be no more than a 9-point game here. I expect Bath to seriously run the Chiefs close here if team news goes according to plan.
Excellent. Well, sounds like a nice confident pick there. And then last game that we've got priced up here at any rate is the London Irish up against the Leicester Tigers. And here we got the home team, very slight favourites. In fact, they're actually betting a choice game here at some bet. And if you looked at the handicap, let's call this a choice game. Which way are you going?
No, Brent, for me, it's definitely starting with the Tigers here. I was very impressed with what the Tigers put out against Gloucester last weekend. I'm also very impressed with the recruitment done by the Tigers in the off season. They've got Jasper Willems into the 8th man position. He's an absolute beast. He'll cause a lot of problems for Premiership defences. He did a lot of good work for the Cheetahs, and I do expect that to continue for the Tigers. They've also got Richard Wigglesworth into the 9 jumper. Obviously, very seasoned campaigner. I think he got over 150 caps for Saracens, so he commands the troops quite well there. And just with the Irish, I see that they've got Billy Meeks at 12. They've got Sukopa Kepu at 3 and Nick Phipps at 9. And I love to oppose an Australian. So I just think that for me, they offer not much there. This is definitely a game I would be looking to side unders on if I can get a high 48, 49 points line. I just think that Tigers will edge them. They'll know that no crowds, that sort of London Irish won't have that 16th men to sort of push them home. So I definitely think that Tigers could scrape home here. So I definitely do like the Tigers on the board yet. Sort of you can get them at 1-1, 9-10, even 11-10. I think that's a great shot.
Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Unless I'm forgetting everything we did, there's nothing really strong that we fancy on the Pro 14. So Neil, then your best bets then to take us through perhaps your best bet of the weekend, and then a couple of others to support it.
Brent, I'll start off my best bet by saying put your money on the under 52.5 in the Northland Hawke's Bay game, and then take that profit and put it on the under 50.5 in the Sharks Pumas game, and you'll be having a superb Friday evening. I think those are 2 absolute cracking players. I can't see either of those sides going overs. And then just with regards to the Saturday kickoffs, I think that Wales plus 14.5 is an absolute cracker. I think that Gloucester on the board's a cracker. Tigers on the board is a cracker, and I think that Western Province on the board at 9-10 is a cracker. It's not often you get Western Province in a full strength side at evens to win on their home pitch. Sentiments are high, emotions are flowing. One of the last games, it is the last game ever against the Bulls of Newlands. So yeah, I think that's an absolute cracker with that.
It's some nice confident picks there, Neil. So thanks a lot for coming on the show. It's been a good one, and some nice. Thanks very much to Henrik as well, and then of course thanks to all the guys in the live chat. Your contributions always very much appreciated. Keep an eye on the Good for the Game forum thread. There's a link below. There's going to be rugby tips all weekend, and make sure you see what our newsletter accumulator is tomorrow. After hitting we've gone a bit of a lean spell, but after hitting last week's one, that'll go out in the newsletter. The link is down below. And, of course, we'll have some chat tomorrow on the forum on the Black Friday specials. It's going to be a very, very interesting weekend. Neil, thanks very much, man. Good punting to you this weekend.
No, thanks, Brent, for having me, and wishing all the boys well on the chat. And let's stick it to the bookies this weekend.
That's it. Let's hit them hard. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week, Thursday, 9 o'clock for the handicap.